annual BoxMac Holiday Special, Part 1.
So I see a pan full of apples.
I've prepared a little.
Pre-prep.
Growing up, one of my favorite treats from Grandma was apple crisp. The second year of the Christmas dessert contest, won first place. My grandmother's apple crisp. With apple roses.
Yep.
And maple whipped cream.
And maple whipped cream. The apple crisp is excellent. The maple whipped cream is a bit too much for me. It's too strong.
That's too much.
And in first place,
I'm just gonna point out.
apple crisp.
What makes it unique amongst apple crisps?
It doesn't have oatmeal or oats. It doesn't have brown sugar. The recipe is this old, weathered, browned card from hundreds of years ago that she's used many, many times.
Let me play apple's advocate. I don't really like apple pie. The pie part, I enjoy. The apple part, it's just hot apple.
Well, I'm kind of with you there. If the apple is like too dominant, it's one of the reasons I love crisps is that exact reason.
Because it avoids the apple.
Yeah.
For me, the hot apple problem is such an issue that vanilla ice cream, peppermint ice cream basically needs to be present.
Would you rather have it cold or do you like it? I mean, you could do it either way.
Well, look, I don't like a hot cider either.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I like a cold cider. So yeah, I suppose I would prefer apples cold, yeah.
At the end, you can serve it with ice cream. You can serve it with whipped cream. That way you have something warm, something cool.
You have to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's slimy apples.
These are Cortland. Grandma has told me Cortland are the best. You can use Macintosh, but Macintosh apples are a lot wetter. I have made this before, sitting and peeling with a potato peeler. It takes a lot of time. You can get this online, I think, for like 20, 25 bucks. I found this at Savers. I think it was like $4. It has an attachment here that makes sure that it sticks to the counter so it doesn't move because you want it nice and stable. You line it up with the core.
Put it in the bung of the apple.
Shove it right in, and then
No!
It's very nice that it chops it too. That's very
it
convenient.
cores it, and then you can just right in half.
It's very appealing.
It is very appealing. In fact, they're appealing him right off the sidewalk.
Here's an appealing fellow. In fact, they're appealing him off the sidewalk.
3/4 of a cup flour, and then a whole cup of sugar.
No booze goes into this.
No.
Boozeless.
About a tablespoon of cinnamon, a little sprinkle of salt.
This feels like an EJ Cooks. A generous amount of cayenne pepper.
And a generous amount of fresh pepper on top of that.
Half a teaspoon of salt.
It's a lot of salt.
Oh, it's a lot of salt? You got John back there saying that's a lot of salt.
We're gonna put 1/3 of a cup of butter in there.
How long do you suppose she's been making this?
Oh, at least 50 years.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Wow. I see in the recipe it's called apple crisp, paren apple crumble. Kind of like the name apple crumble.
Apple crumbles very appealing. Maybe it's crumble because there's no oats.
Now, your grandmother's still with you?
Yes, she is. Going strong at 99.
Whoa.
And she's been in and out of the hospital, and she's made some miraculous recoveries during COVID, but she keeps on coming back.
Good, good. If I was like 100, and my grandchild served me some mac and cheese like the way I used to make it, like the way John used to make it.
I always thought this was for mashed potatoes. This is technically, it's a pastry tool. I mean, you can use it to mash potatoes.
Sure.
You can mash potato.
You can mash potato.
You can make some crisp.
I like that.
Crisp. My groin still hurts looking at that.
That thing is amazing.
It makes what would probably be 40 minutes of peeling go down to about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, if I made apple things more than about once a year, I would get one of those.
When you make apple things, what are you making?
I make an apple cake.
We made it together.
That's the only sweet thing?
Yeah.
We're at a stage of the evening where we're enjoying the cake. I had a bite and it was delicious.
I'm digging the whole experience, A to Z.
How's the cake?
Delicious.
I'm continuing to be slightly concerned about the amount of salt you put in.
I might have put in a little much, but I think it'll be fine.
I may have gone too far in a few places.
I can tell you that Ennemann's has an amazing apple Danish. Apple cheese Danish.
An apple cheese something for the future, Matt.
Let me take a little taste test.
Oh, wow, you're gonna eat raw flour.
He's basically given his body to science. Isn't that what he does for a living?
I always say it's kind of like beach sand, like you're making a sandcastle.
Is there a way we can make a dessert someday? Doesn't have to be this Christmas special.
Yeah.
Where it's all crisp, no apple. Look, I've got an open heart, an open mind. You know, I
With an open heart and empty soul.
Oh, thank you. Welcome. I just mind. It's yours.
Sprinkle that over the top.
There's surely some other vehicle for the crisp besides apple.
You can do peach.
Oh, true. Peach cobbler.
I mean, peaches seem worse to me than apples. You're just gonna end up a runny mess. Basically what you're asking for is a coffee cake with extra topping.
Yes. Well, you know, blueberry. I really like blueberry.
Blueberry?
Blueberry would be wet. It'd be very wet.
So be it.
Slimy's okay as long as it's not apple.
I think maybe that kind of al dente sponginess of the apple, I'm just going like, this is like the perfect wrong texture for me. With flavor that ain't worth it.
So then we're gonna put it in 350.
You need about 350.
About 350.
He does need about 350.
I need about 350.
350.
I have already been making this, which I don't think is gonna turn out too well. Just as a decorative element, some apple roses.
Well, let me tell you something, Matt. That is not the first Christmas treat that's ever been botched in that oven.
It's very true. Oh, they weren't supposed to expand at all. They don't even look like shoes. They just look like cankles at this point.
They're all blowed up.
You can like draw eyes on, you know, bloated cankles.
Christmas cake.
I look upon the cankles fondly.
I'm gonna quickly show you how I made these. Cut it in half. Core that out.
You know what he's doing with that knife? You ever cut yourself?
Never really badly. The long way, we're gonna cut thin strips. This is essentially making the rose petals. The thinner the better. And the next step, which we're not gonna do, you take a lemon, squeeze out the lemon juice into a bowl, put some water in, and then you're gonna wanna put these in there. So water, lemon juice, whatever your petals are, put it in a bowl and put it in the microwave for 3 minutes. And what that does is the acidity of the lemon and the heat is gonna make it nice and soft. That way you can roll it up. So then, once it's all nice and soft, you line these up.
How long are we baking the crisp for?
45 minutes.
Have you ever been to a Christmas party and the host is doing that like overly insistent thing of saying, please take a bag, please take it all home? Because they like way
too much food.
Way too much
oversupplied. I'm just wondering, has anybody ever once been like, oh good, they're gonna let me take it home? Or have you found yourself taking home food that you throw out when you get home?
I enjoy taking home
I like
leftovers.
taking it home.
I don't want to, like, especially if I'm traveling, I don't want to travel with like a car filled with food.
Yeah.
Often I'm trying to like maybe not overeat the second day and the third day and the fourth day.
True.
Like,
I was offered food yesterday. I did turn them down. I'm trying to calculate how much space is in my fridge. I'm trying to...
You're like, it wasn't part of my plan. I found that party hosts oversupply food though. Like, that's
a good host. Can you imagine going to a party where there's not enough food?
Mortified. Pizza parties in particular are guilty of this.
Oh, yeah.
They'll order 35 pizzas.
When we get pizzas at work, it's like a pizza apocalypse. People are taking home whole pizzas.
When I did the dessert contest, I made a maple whipped cream. I went shopping yesterday. There is no whipped cream. There is no heavy cream, which is what you need. So I had to, I'm sorry everyone, I had to Cool Whip it.
I would have gone vanilla ice cream personally. So you've just mapleized.
I've just put maple syrup into.
Give it a good handy.
So I've made myself a little piping bag. I have that little attachment I just shoved in the corner.
Nice.
And I'm going to put this into the fridge.
For it to Cool Whip.
Cool Whip. Normally you use heavy whipping cream, a little bit of vanilla, and then the maple syrup to make this specific thing.
That Family Guy Cool Whip joke, that probably like forever changed the brand of Cool Whip.
Really?
I think it did.
Test of time.
In the minds of people.
Oh, hey, can I get some of that pie and Cool Whip?
What did you say?
We can't have pie without Cool Whip.
That's not how you're supposed to say it. You said it weird.
It's interesting how like the different holidays right around the same season have kind of like played musical chairs with what you're supposed to serve at what holiday.
True.
Turkey was served at Christmas for a long time. Somehow it became very standardized on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and then you have a ham for Christmas often.
Ham goes with apple.
True. I'll eat anything anytime. You just give it to me, I'll take care of it.
So that's gonna cook for 45 minutes.
Okay.
Time wipe, we'll be back. Okay. Flush. Now you can make these apple roses to eat. The recipe says you can put like apple jam.
But you suggest we don't?
Or, I mean, this is just decorative and they're a little burnt.
So right into the pie.
Right into the pie.
Right into the crisp.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
And those apples softened up so nicely at the bottom.
They did, and you know what? It's almost like it's just a cream.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
They're actually softened to the point where it's just like a lovely apple mush.
Hey man, God bless her.
Delicious.
99 years old.
Her chocolate chip cookies also always did it.
Oh my God, chocolate chip cookie is my favorite dessert. Now, are you eating your words as it relates to the salt?
I can taste a little bit of salt in it.
I can too.
But it's fine.
We're gonna use 50 grams of salt. It seems like a lot of salt, let me tell you. Almost all that salt's gonna go down the drain.
All right, I'm gonna try this apple blossom. It definitely tastes like apples, unlike Apple Jacks.
The thing that I like most about it is that it's not wet.
Well, Matt, you outdid yourself. If it's a shame that this isn't the competition. Seriously, awesome job.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Do we handshake on the Red Cow Show? Good job, Matthew. A+. It's been a pleasure working with you.
We're back at the benches.
Yeah, here's something we haven't done in a long time.
The basic idea is you go around the property and try to find an item, and I tell you what it is, if I knew where it was from, and then at the end, I say which item I like best out of all of them. This is the Christmas edition, so we're looking just for Christmas things. Ornaments, trees, wreaths, anything Christmas.
I'm looking for ornaments.
Okay. I have to guess who bought it, too.
If he guesses wrong, do we still get to tell us?
Yeah.
I want to give you tips because you could be searching in a lot of places where there's nothing. The key concentrations of Christmas stuff is the basement and the room at the end of the hall.
I had the basement in mind. I was like, the basement's gotta be where it's at. Should we go first?
Go ahead.
Have fun.
You want that one? This is your pick.
It's kind of cute, isn't it? In a way. All right. I'm pretty satisfied.
So, Mom, that's silly.
That's
What do you do with the rest of the sock?
Is that a good idea?
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
but do we get another turn?
I think we're just doing it one time.
Oh, then let's not do this one.
So
Okay.
he used to live over here with his dad.
Have you been following us?
He's filming it.
I can't see anything.
All right, so you got some Christmas lights. We could bring them up an entire Thanksgiving cactus. We could bring them up some plants covered in spider webs. What if we brought in this giant reindeer?
Okay, that's a good idea.
Do you like it?
Put on that giant reindeer.
Go big or go home.
Mommy won't remember.
We'll see. Now the worst part of this game is after we're done, you gotta put stuff back where you got it from.
I can't believe we did a giant freaking reindeer.
You're gonna say, John, close your eyes. We're coming.
I'm going. He said it in here. There might be some Christmas stuff. It's a very Muppet Christmas movie. Should we do it? Because it's, as far as I can tell, it's the only Christmas item in this room.
Round 3.
Here we go.
The spoon, but we know a lot about the spoon. You pointed at this spoon.
Mama.
There's this manger. Huh? Let's see if he knows about this.
Oh.
Oh, I probably shouldn't have done that because now I've got to wait. I didn't wind it too much though.
All right, here we come. Without telling you who gave you each item, I'm gonna go pick one of the 3 items.
Okay, item number 1. This is a manger. This came from a set, and we do set this out some years. It had all of ceramic figures, and this was a staple in our house for many years. It has a little music box.
It looks handmade.
It's not. It's a commercial product.
Okay.
I don't think this music box has been played in years.
Do you know where it was?
That's a tough one. I kind of lost track of this. I'm gonna guess it was in the basement.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Here comes item number 2.
Item number 2. Well, all right. This is a wicker reindeer. It's real fibrous. It's not plastic or anything. There's some metal inside, I think, to form the shape. I have bought this out fairly recently, and I used to put it out front. This was definitely in the basement, and I really like this. This is something my mother picked out. It's obviously seen better days. It's barely together anymore. Maybe I'll bring it out this year. All right, number 3. Well, if it isn't a very merry Muppet Christmas movie. It's interesting because you notice that this is sealed, and I had never watched the movie until Matt and I watched it the other week, and it wasn't that great.
There's this one. There's a Muppet Christmas Carol.
Of course.
Which is the gold standard. But then there's a super good one called A Muppet Family Christmas.
Ah, yes. Where they all get together at a house.
They go to Fozzie's mother's house.
It's great.
And Sesame Street shows up.
Yes.
And Fraggle Rock shows up.
This is like a 2000s era.
Yes. This was in the room at the end of the hall in a huge pile of DVDs. This was from a time where if I just saw a DVD I liked, I would buy it. At that point in time, there was no easy way to just see this.
Kind of weak.
You know, 2003 era. I'm going to guess Zach picked the manger, that Frankie picked the movie, and that you guys picked the deer.
How did you guess?
Well, because Frankie likes movies a lot.
He likes Jesus.
I don't think Zach would be the kind of person to haul the deer out of the basement. It's a little more sentimental, and I think Zach maybe selected it slightly on that basis. As for which one I like the best, I'm gonna have to go with the reindeer. Zach, yours is definitely a close runner-up.
Gloria, you won.
You won!
He picked the reindeer.
That was my favorite. The reindeer was my favorite one.
And did he get it right for where it was?
Yeah.
Did he get the manger right?
No. No. It was in the back room. Oh, was I right with this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Thank you for playing the Christmas Scavenger Junt!
We used to do a show called JuntSNES.
We did. One of my all-time favorite Red Cow shows.
We thought it'd be fun to bring a little bit of that JuntSNES energy back into the holiday special.
Yeah.
The video game memories, they go beyond the Super Nintendo.
They do.
We grew up with video game Christmas morning memories. It's why that movie last year, 8-Bit Christmas, was so successful.
Nintendo?
That's right. Come over here. I've missed you, Jake.
If you asked 100 kids around our age, what was your favorite Christmas gift ever, they probably would choose a Nintendo or Sega product. So we said, all right, if you still have it, bring in your cartridge or your CD, your retro video game, and talk about the Christmas morning opening. So let's start with you.
Obviously, very well known for Super Nintendo, but NES was really the first system that was Christmasable. As a child, I was actually always delayed on video game systems. I didn't get them the year they came out or the year after they came out. They had to do a price drop. The NES was the first system I got for Christmas. I believe I got it in Christmas 1991, which is pretty late for the NES.
Right.
A couple years later, when the first Addams Family movie came out, my parents picked me up this, Fester's Quest by Sunsoft. I really enjoy this game. It's a silly little top-down fighter with all kinds of flawed mechanics. My mother, when she had Christine, my youngest sister, she had to go to the hospital for like 2 weeks. And for some reason, she decided to take away all my video games. But I squirreled this one and Bubble Bobble away. So this and Bubble Bobble were the only 2 games I had to play over a whole 2-week period.
Could do worse.
Yeah, and Bubble Bobble got a little more play than this one because I got very frustrated with this game. But yeah, I remember it very fondly for that reason.
Sunsoft's an interesting company. They always had very interesting licensed game, of course, famously Batman, and some that lost their licenses like Journey to Silius. They always came up with interesting, fun ideas for the NES.
And this is my original copy, which is in very poor condition. I don't think it's operating anymore.
Yeah, it looks like it's got some kind of skin disease.
Yeah, I don't know quite what happened.
Just like Fester.
John Fetterman.
The NES stuff got put... A lot of the
John Fetterman's Quest.
But anyway, so all the NES stuff, before I was kind of preserving it, got put in the basement, and I'm pretty sure this sat face down on the floor in small water for a long time because the plastic is textured.
Do you suppose this plays?
I would be very surprised.
There's no amount of blowing into this cartridge that's going to save it.
And then I have one more, also an NES game, and it is, of course, The Legend of Zelda. The first RPG of any kind that I really played. This was another Christmas, the year after I got the NES. I played this game to death. This is also my original cartridge. You can see it's beat up, but it's in better shape than Fester's Quest because it stayed upstairs.
It wasn't in a standing pool.
No. Another amazing game. I still go back to this game. I have it on my Steam Deck. I play it.
Technically not an RPG, right? Because it doesn't have like turn-based play. And
well, I consider it to be an RPG.
Yeah, I would call it an RPG.
Really?
I mean, they would call it an action RPG.
Yeah, action RPG.
Adventure game?
I'll briefly talk about one more. And it's not here for a specific reason. I do have the cartridge.
I drowned it in the basement.
The same year I got the Super Nintendo, I got a Star Trek game for NES. And let me tell you, that was my least liked game of any game I ever got for Christmas.
What kind of game was it?
You were in command of the Starship Enterprise, and it's all represented by strange little icons and a complicated interface. Original Star Trek, not Next Generation, which I was never really into. It was kind of a contrast to these games, which I loved, and Star Trek I played for maybe 30 minutes ever.
The NES had a lot of variance in quality.
It did.
But you regarded the NES like everything that you were gonna get was gonna be great.
Well, because Nintendo did do some kind of job of making sure there was some kind of quality.
Yeah. Those later games, those, you know, the 91s,
yes.
the 90s.
The 93s.
Yeah.
As a consumer, just word of mouth, you saw it in like Nintendo Power.
Nintendo Power.
You only had the box art, so you just stare at it in the rental store and be like, maybe
This
this
looks
is
like
the
it might
one.
be fun. Well, when I was in 3rd grade for Christmas, I got my first Nintendo, which was great. And the game that came with it, Master Blaster, which is another Sunsoft game, which is a fun game. It's a great game.
I struggle with it myself.
Well, in my adult life, I have a very limited attention span. But as a kid, when you only have limited options,
you'll brute
you
force.
play over and over and over again. I'm assuming they made Fester's Quest next. So they have the same music, the same sound effects, the same sprites in Fester's Quest. I don't think they cut up and took leftovers from Fester's Quest and put it in Master Blaster. I think it was the other way around. I'm pretty sure that this I got for Christmas, Quest for Glory. I assume that you do not like point-and-click games.
I've had more fun with different kinds of games than point-and-click games.
Sierra had a line of games that were point-and-click like this. In the mid-90s, the first one I ever played was King's Quest VI, and it was beautiful because they had hand-drawn, hand-animated, beautiful backgrounds, beautiful sprites. And this was kind of in the same vein. There was this beautiful overworld where you kind of interact with characters, and it was recorded audio, so there was speaking voices.
This is some kind of altar to the Dark One. The top is covered with sand.
I think this came with something like a computer pack that someone got for Christmas, and this was the game that came with it. The original Oregon Trail. This is not that, it's an actual CD, so it has audio and it has speaking.
Hello.
Good day to you, friend. I'm new here in town. I'm making ready to head out on the trail west.
I think I had Oregon Trail 2 for Windows 3.1.
We had this at our school. Everyone wanted to play this just so they could blow the shit out of animals. Because you could do a hunting session.
Yeah.
We were in like a Catholic school. But
animals don't have souls, so you can overhunt them.
Yes.
I killed 15 buffalo and got like, 20,000 pounds of meat.
I love that era, like with like Myst, you'd have like the game developers just like putting on robes and stuff.
Here. Most of what you'll need to know is in there. Keep it well hidden.
But you got these for Christmas? Or are you fudging this assignment?
This one I'm pretty sure I got for Christmas. Master Blaster was definitely that. This...
LucasArts?
Kind of point and click. I didn't get this for Christmas, but I remember for...
Get it out of the show!
For Christmas vacation, someone let me borrow this, and I played the shit out of it.
Associated with Christmas loosely.
I got this one for Halloween.
I'm gonna sympathize with Matt here, because a lot of the fun of Christmas is you have that week off. I can get through Final Fantasy IX. I can get through it.
This one, The Sims.
I love The Sims.
You know, call me a Luddite. I just find it all too dull.
Well, you gotta use your imagination.
My sister played Sims 2000, Jeopardy on the NES. There's a whole classification of games that were like, that's Christie's games. Oregon Trail had a little, because you could blow animals to pieces.
That was the only appealing part of it?
And going down the river. But certainly dialogue boxes about diarrhea didn't really get me through.
Roller Coaster Tycoon was a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Where you just like make the roller coasters just kill all the patrons.
Yeah.
I've got Yoshi's Island. I got it for Christmas and it was almost like an afterthought because it came out the Christmas of the Virtual Boy. And I was obsessed with Virtual Boy, like in the marketing. Like I thought, oh, this is the next thing, obviously, virtual reality. It's red.
I love the Game Boy.
The Wario game looked great.
And it actually was great.
It was good. It was great. But this was the one that made me put away the Virtual Boy. The art style, the gameplay.
It's the Super Nintendo at the height of its powers.
It really is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then the marketing was really weird because it had that Monty Python sketch with the guy like bursting open with his disgusting belly.
Sure you don't have room for another little bonus level? Super Mario World 2, only on the Super NES.
They were like, we gotta market this to preteens and teens.
They love Ren and Stimpy and shit.
Yeah.
Totally hid this beautiful game behind it. But I also wanted to talk about the Christmas right after that, which was the N64 Christmas, which was such an event.
So how different is it from the old Mario games? Well, take a look. There's really no comparison. They've even made the music, well, honestly, less annoying.
It was Tickle Me Elmo, and it was Nintendo 64.
This may very well be the last Tickle Me Elmo to be found in the Bay Area, but he's already sold. And when we brought him out into the store, we caused a near riot.
I remember there was like scalpers that had pages and pages of classified ads of Tickle Me Elmo N64.
The other hot toys include cd-rom Barbie and Nintendo 64, but even they can't rival the demand for Elmo.
And Jingle All the Way came out that year. Everybody was experiencing what Arnold was experiencing.
And like every kid was scared they weren't gonna get a Nintendo 64.
I was.
I'm afraid I'm not gonna get this.
I like resigned myself to not getting it. I told my mom, it's like, don't worry about it. Just get like a Lego set. Christmas morning, my parents played a little troll. I got like a tiny Lego set, I got all these things. And I was like, oh. And then the last thing they brought out was just, it looked like a game cart. Open up, it's Mario 64. It's like, oh, Santa didn't have the N64s on them, but you get this game, you can look at it.
That's awesome.
And I was like, oh, well, I mean, like, even as a kid, if you have like the packaging, that's like almost enough. It's almost enough for you. And then, of course, they brought it out of the garage. I called my friend, and he was like, I got one too! And it was just, it's just like
I have that same memory, actually. Like, yeah, calling around. It turned out that everybody did get one.
All the parents stood in line. They did it.
And you make a good point about like the game you didn't expect to be the hit with you. I remember I actually thought I wanted a PlayStation 1 because Mortal Kombat Trilogy was coming out for that and it had more characters. And then of course, Mario 64 was the thing that swept me up.
When I wanted something for my Nintendo 64, Zelda's great, Turok 2, South Park would be fine. How about Rogue Squadron? That game should be mine.
Make up for a lame Christmas. Get the hits you missed on N64.
Well, I also got trolled. So here's the deal. Your 16-bit system was Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
When we were kids, you got one, you didn't get both.
Yeah, that's right.
There were enough students in my class that convinced me that Sega Genesis was the way to go. And you'll remember that Sega did beat Nintendo in sales for like 2 years in a row.
They did.
I got a Genesis in '92, which is a little tiny bit later, past the Altered Beast, past Strider, a pre-Sonic Genesis era.
Yeah, before the Super Nintendo was out.
I knew nothing of the Master System. Only recently have I kind of learned a little bit more about the Master System. But what it came with on Christmas morning was Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Not 1.
And I never got a chance really to play 1 until maybe a few years later. It's really an inferior game. This was Sonic bringing it.
Yeah, you know, Sonic 2 is great. It's better than the first one. You have great graphics. Sonic has a new friend called Tails, the fox, 2 tails. Cool.
This was Sonic being like, this is what I have to offer.
Yeah.
Totally next generation of video games. Sonic 2 was pushing it so much further than anything I saw on the NES. But maybe 2 years later, Sonic 3 comes out. I didn't get Sonic 3. I had rented it, and there was this character, Knuckles, that was compelling. You know, kids love new characters, new mascots. And then they came out with a game called Sonic and Knuckles. And they had this weird gimmick where they said it's got this lock-on technology where you pop open the slot and you can put in another game and you can get some DLC that way.
Yeah.
And it was really confusing. And they said you can pop in Sonic 3. Well, shoot, I don't have that. Or you can pop in Sonic 2 and you can play Sonic 2 as Knuckles. We're gonna give you a ROM hack.
Yeah, basically, it was really cool.
And I was like, well, I can do that.
Plus, it has new technology. Lock-on technology. So you can play Knuckles in Sonic 2 and 3. It's revolutionary.
You just laughed at us. So we sold the whole thing to Sega?
Who's laughing now? Batman!
This was the thing I wanted, Sonic and Knuckles. Not realizing that the reason they were doing this was because Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles was the full game. They had to split it into 2 because of cartridge size, and they made double the money. So I begged for it, I begged for it, I begged for it. It's the big one anytime I was put in front of the feet of Santa, and they let me open every present and not find Sonic and Knuckles. And of course I didn't say anything. And they said, can you go out to the mail? We forgot to bring it in yesterday. Can you like go out and bring in the mail? And I was like, ugh. And I go out to the mailbox and Sonic and Knuckles is just sitting there in the mailbox. And yeah, for years, it was Sonic 2 that I popped in playing as Knuckles. Years later, I actually got to get Sonic 3, which I have in box.
Oh,
the way God intended.
This is the game to end all Sega Genesis games.
It's an amazing game.
And finally, I'm a huge Power Rangers fan. You know, recently we lost Jason David Frank, and here's the sad reality. Power Rangers had a lot of video games released for it, but not unlike The Simpsons, most of them were unplayable or unfun. They got close. There was a Super Nintendo one was okay. There was a fighting game, The graphics were really good, but it wasn't really playable.
Yeah.
There's one that's very good because it's basically just Streets of Rage. And it's Power Rangers the movie for Sega Genesis. The one for Super Nintendo didn't follow the movie plot at all. What this did was the first 3 levels followed the movie, then it flashed back to the show, gave you a bunch of events from the show, and then ended with the movie finale. And you went in between Zord levels. You never played as the actual teens unmorphed. Although there's an open source platform called Open Boar, Open Beats of Rage. You can develop your own beat 'em up through this. And somebody made something called Beats of Power, and it's basically this, but you can morph, more level variety. It's really just kind of a beefed up version of this.
Yeah.
You know how right after you open all the gifts, you're supposed to go visit some family?
Sure.
You know how you're always trying to sneak in, like, maybe I can get like a half hour video games in before we all leave. This was the game that I was like, that I left paused. I still play this to this day. I really enjoy this game. Well, there you go, some Christmas video game.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Do you guys have anything you're playing that you would want to play while you have time off?
I've just got myself a Steam Deck, which has kind of revitalized my interest.
Pick that sucker up.
A
Show
whole
us
bunch
this.
of games.
Oh my God, it's enormous.
It's enormous. I've got it set up with emulators, so I've got a lot of my classic games. But I've also been playing some great Steam games on it. I just got the Katamari remake. I've been replaying Stardew Valley.
How much storage you got on that thing?
I bought the big buck one, the 512 gig, and I've got a 128 gig card in it, which has emulation stuff on it. And I just picked up on Steam sale Forza, and I'm looking forward to trying that out. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun too. I love racing games.
It looks a lot like a Game Gear.
Big Game Gear.
It's a fly-through battery. like a Game Gear does.
Emulation, I can get maybe 6-7 hours out of it. On a really serious 3D game, it's 2.5, 3 hours.
Jingle bells, Santa smells, Christmas really stunk. I got nothing that I like, my gifts were all just junk.
Frankie, we're gonna make a Mac that the fans may have seen, but we've never cooked. Today on BoxMac. Observers of the Christmas specials may have once or twice spotted a Mac.
We got the cheese sauce rolling, and the pasta cooking. 2-pound block of Velveeta. Right now I've got a half stick of butter in, some milk, and a pound of sharp cheddar. There's one Charisse tin and one non-Charisse tin.
That Mac we have never made on the show until today.
Do we know why?
No.
You call it the Party Mac. It's a simpler Mac.
I need something that'll hold well, that'll last for a while while it's sitting out there, and that is pretty quick so I don't have to like be away from my guests for an hour.
This is a Charisse and Velveeta cheese Mac.
That's right. Market basket, medium shells. Yep, I always make a Charisse and non-Charisse version of it. Do you think today I should make a half and half, or should I just go all Charisse?
I feel like the prototypical version of the Mac is with Charisse. You only make a Charisse list for the Charisse list among us.
For the Charisse list among us, exactly.
I want to try it with and without.
Okay, all right. EJ has made a request.
This is going to be very confusing for viewers in other parts of the country and the international viewers.
We've talked about it many, many times, but we live in what is informally known as the South Coast of Massachusetts.
That's right.
Not the South Shore.
That's a different area.
That's a different area. We live in the South Coast.
The armpit.
Right on the Rhode Island border. Some people might know it as between Fall River, Massachusetts and Newport, Rhode Island.
That's right.
And in that area, Portuguese.
Lots of Portuguese.
Not mainland Portuguese.
Yep.
Not Brazilian.
Yep.
From
Azorian.
From the Azores. We grew up with lots of Portuguese kids.
Yep.
They vacation in the Azores all the time. I've never been. Personally, I hear it's amazing. Portuguese or not, if you live in this area, you're eating Charisse at least some of the time.
It comes on breakfast sandwiches, omelets, lunches, pizzas.
Charisse and chips pizza.
Charisse and chips pizza.
Delicious.
You put
One of my
fries and Charisse.
This is what causes all these Portuguese men to have their gallbladders removed. You've probably heard of chorizo.
Widely available.
The same thing, but Spanish.
So we have a beef mac. It was supposed to be Charisse mac, but I accidentally bought chorizo, which is not the same, so it's a chorizo mac.
And then this is just that without it.
The cheese is Velveeta and sharp and heavy cream.
Then there's linguiça, which is the same thing as this, but prepared differently.
That's right.
Normally prepared in like a sausage link.
Yes.
Well, they're actually two different sausages.
Yeah, because you can get a ground linguiça.
And then you even have variants like casurla.
But this is a sausage, and casurla is more like shredded.
Yeah. So most of all, it's cured, it's spiced. Is anybody here Portuguese? Zach, are you a little Portuguese?
No.
How did we come together with the only non-Portuguese people in Westport? I mean, I'll throw kielbasa in this thing all day long. But.
Nina's extremely Polish on both sides.
On both sides.
We've never done a kielbasa Mac.
No.
We should have Nina come on board and...
And what, throw cabbage and sauerkraut in it? Just nasty it up.
Listen, EJ threw a bunch of horseradish sauce into his Mac recently, and he said it was amazing. And then he sprinkled the fried remains of a bloomin' onion onto the top of it and baked it.
That sounds like a good topping.
And and then he sat there alone in the middle of the night and ate it on camera.
Well, all of my children, my wife slept.
So guys, it's super good. The Party Mac would be good enough. But I had another thought. You bought a waffle iron.
I did.
100% would buy this.
You would?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't want new bullshit. Oh, it's a little broken.
Have you even made one waffle with it?
Yes, I made them twice.
How are they working out for you?
The first time was not so great because I used pancake mix and I foolishly thought they were the same thing. They're definitely not. I made some more waffles the second time. They were delicious.
In kind of an internet stunt, I thought, could you make waffle macaroni and cheese?
Yeah. So this is a Kraft 4-cheese deluxe base, and then I've doped it with a little bit of Velveeta.
Everyone's gonna get dope sick.
It's also got hot dogs in it, and it's also got some extra cheddar cheese. And what I've done is I have compressed it into a layer, and I've refrigerated it overnight. We're gonna put a little extra sharp cheddar on it, and we're gonna put it in the waffle maker to heat it up and see how that goes.
That sounds good. Hot dogs on waffles? Well, chicken and waffles, I don't know. We're getting there.
I don't know what I'm doing. Nina, can I put you to work in a typical fashion?
Yes.
I have a block here of sharp cheddar cheese that I would like the whole thing shredded, please.
I would love to do that.
So this is our 8th Christmas special. I'm really at a point in my life where I'm like, I don't want a Christmas to ever go by where we don't get into this kitchen and make something stupid together. And Nina's got to be standing over there, shredding
some cheese. It's important to note that Charisse is already pre-cooked, fully pre-cooked.
Actually, it doesn't taste bad cold, this stuff.
It's delicious as is. When you cook it up, It actually gets a little bit firmer and tougher, and I kind of like it just like this.
If you asked me how many waffles have I had in my entire life, it'd probably be fewer than 5.
Really?
You know, I almost always choose French toast, pancake. If I'm in a hotel breakfast situation, I'm not sitting there making a waffle.
I'm just gonna put a little bit of olive oil to kind of act as a buffer.
You do this for the party as well?
I do.
Is there ever any left over?
No, never. Usually the cerise actually goes first, and then everybody else still wants more, so they go for the plain.
I associate this party mac with like, oh my God, I want more, but oh my God, I've eaten so much. How's the cheese going back there?
It's like my favorite part of the year. This is my
Is it
favorite
really?
Christmas tradition.
The Velveeta is gonna mix with that. It'll help it keep. Because what I usually do is I put it in crock pots, and it's good for a couple hours.
We were like sort of not allowed to eat it in my house when I was a kid. My dad's very conscious of heart health, and this is the opposite of heart health.
It's the opposite of all health.
This 2-pound block was $8. It's a wonderful melting cheese. What we're gonna do is basically add this, a little bit of milk, and some of the sharp cheddar Nina's doing to make a wonderful mac.
Now, you've been sick all Thanksgiving season?
Oh, it's been awful.
I have a weird faux scientific theory that if you pour sweat every single day, it's a good thing.
This sounds like a 1800s piece of advice.
It's not quite bloodletting. I think it's good. I think it's good to like hydrate the hell out of yourself and then sweat it all out.
Sure.
Then hydrate again.
I hate sweating.
Some of us just sweat continuously like sick freaks all the time, no matter what we do.
The problem is, like, because I'm so big, once I get heated up, it's very difficult for me to cool down.
Yeah, that's another thing that I recommend putting Charisse in, your omelets.
Oh, absolutely. Delicious in omelets.
Stuffing.
Stuffing. They do it in your stuffing.
I think it overwhelms stuffing, to be honest with you.
No, nice Portuguese stuffing.
Zach disagrees.
You put it in your stuffed quahogs, your Charisse
Oh,
stuffed
yes,
quahogs.
you do. Which is another thing that nobody would know anything about.
Stuffed quahogs. Around here, they're called stuffies.
Family Guy's quahog.
Yeah, right. It's called, when they called it quahog, I was like, oh, wow, that's a deep cut.
Do you remember on that show there were tons of Portuguese jokes?
Yes.
You don't remember Santos and Pascual?
Not even a little.
They were like male consuelas. It was a mistake making them Portuguese, though. People don't even know what a Portuguese is.
All of our driving teachers were Portuguese.
Yep.
Mine was Liberal Baptista.
Yep.
St. Michael's Driving. Como estás, capaz? Your turn signal. He called it your blinking. Did you say I blinking?
No, I say Abe Lincoln. I said, hey, Blinken.
Show me your beautiful cheese, Nina.
Very good. So I've got a product here that I have actually fallen in love with that we haven't talked about on the show before. Amish roll butter. It's a 2-pound kind of lump of butter. $10 at Market Basket. It's butter that has less dairy in it and more fat. I've been cooking with it and I really like the way it cooks because the dairy component doesn't burn. It's not quite to the level of ghee. This is a product that I will definitely be keeping in my kitchen going forward.
I feel like the butter quests are almost a sub-genre of the BoxMac show. Like Land O'Lakes to Kate's to Irish butters, now we're on to Amish butters.
Can I tell you a cute Christmas story?
Sure.
When I was but a boy, about Gloria's age, I was asked by my mom to deliver little tin packages of cookies to my bus driver, my teacher, my principal, all the key adults in my life at school. Now, I was a forgetful kid. Like, if I needed to bring in a note about something, I would never deliver the note. So she started pinning the note to my shirt. And then the teacher would notice and go, oh yeah, he's just an automaton, this kid. In this case, she was like, give 1 to each person. She meant a tin. I thought she meant like pop the tin open and hand a cookie.
A cookie.
Each adult had to be like, I think probably your mom wanted you to give me the whole tin of cookies, but even that is a little bit weird. And I was like, she said only 1.
That's very cute.
She said 1. I'm handing it to them with like my hand.
And then you just brought back all the tins of cookies at the end of the day?
No, I think somehow, some way, I did the right thing.
I'm cutting up the Velveeta just so it melts a little easier.
Oh, I don't want that job. That's too wiggly. Do you know we have a kid who doesn't like mac and cheese? She says it's too slimy in her mouth.
Even though your dad does a TV show about it?
Should he change the TV show?
You know, I don't like it doesn't mean that we do a different show about it.
That's very logical. Then I'm gonna introduce a Christmas lean.
Here we are leaning upon the countertop.
I mean, I could start the waffles, but I kind of want to do them in sequence, you know? I want to finish a mac and then start a mac.
The Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special came out. It's like 4 or 5 full-length songs and then the thing is over. And I thought, you know what is another cheap Christmas special just like this? Just song after song after song?
What?
Alpha's Magical Christmas. The Power Rangers Christmas video.
Never seen it.
It's Alpha, you know, they can get for cheap because they can put anybody in the costume.
Yeah.
And it's him and a bunch of...
Oh, you smell pasta? You just want plain pasta?
Bow tie pasta.
It's shells.
Did you notice that the wreath behind you is the one that John bought at Black Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dad told me that.
Yeah, I told her.
Oh, it is LED. kind of digging it.
A giant $52 wreath?
It's a little bit of a big purchase.
I think he's making a purchase. I think he's making a look at
in
that.
the contemplating stage right
Oh, no, that's in your cart, my friend.
It has a nice timer function where you can set it up to
Oh,
light.
I love that.
Yeah.
Shells.
She came wandering in here like a zombie for shells.
I'm a pasta zombie.
It's Alpha's Magical Christmas.
Wasn't there a Ninja Turtles one kind of like that too?
Yeah, We Wish You a Turtle Christmas, of course. The Power Rangers do not appear in it except on like the viewing globe. They're like, hey, we could not afford them, Alpha.
It does seem strangely quiet without the Power Rangers.
How's this stuff?
Weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't just snack on that.
No, not at all.
That needs to be whipped up with some shells.
Oodles of cheese.
The disconcerting way it like flubbers.
I'm gonna put it over the heat. You gotta really watch it because this stuff burns.
What was the cooking chemistry powder you were using for a little while?
Sodium's, yeah, there's a huge amount of that inside this Velveeta cheese.
That's the stuff that John uses to vanish, you know, when he leaves a party unceremoniously.
He emulsified.
He just left a cheesy fog.
We just need to let this heat up until it's nicely mixed.
Look at that.
We're just giving it a minute to heat.
I like the way John's standing back from it and staring at it with pride. Just gotta let that sucker melt.
All right, our cheese sauce is perfect.
Whoa.
It's still got a little bit of lump in it, but I don't want to push the temperature anymore because it's gonna burn. We got a bunch of hot noodles here too. I'm gonna put the noodles back in.
How dare you call me a hot noodle?
And we got a very cheesy mac. It's a little over cheesed. So I'm gonna take a good portion of this and I'm gonna put it into the chorizo.
The only part we're not mixing in is the part that EJ reserved. But EJ's worth it. This is our Christmas gift to EJ.
EJ is so worth it.
I hear that at home. Frankie likes EJ more than he likes me.
The cheese factor's gonna go down a little when we mix it with the chorizo. So I'm just gonna fold it in.
Tap it
Fold it in.
Tap, tap, tappy. Give it a little taparoo.
Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, taparoo.
Now, Frankie, do you want to try a little of each?
Yeah, but most of all, I want to make sure EJ's got, you know, what he has coming to him.
One year, Facebook reminded of our Facebook friend anniversary before your anniversary.
It turns out that our friend anniversary is on November 23rd.
Are you serious?
Yeah. We were friends before that.
Yes, yes, but our
Facebook official.
Yeah. We didn't go Facebook official until, I waited until it was the same date as my marriage anniversary and my dating anniversary.
All right, let's try the plain first.
Oh my God, the cheese.
It's a crack. It's like crack.
You have to try to imagine this thick ass layer of cheese, cryogenically preserving the mac and cheese. If this went into a tree, you could clone mac and cheese millions of years from now.
And a little bit of the chorizo, perhaps.
John goes quiet because it's so good and he forgets to describe what he's liking about it. And now let's eat more noodles.
The chorizo, I think, is much better balanced.
It just adds this huge dimension to it.
Depending on my mood, I like both of them.
Yeah. And that's why I usually make both for the party.
A little bit of like a smokiness to it. It rounds it out, definitely.
Yeah, it kind of cuts down the cheese. The cheese is a little heavy on the plain one.
You want to start making waffles? Now it feels foolish.
Why don't we take a little break, we'll get the kitchen cleaned up, and then we can do waffles. How about that?
All right, sure.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Próspero